Hi, I just want to talk a little bit about a realization that I had over the last, I don't know, couple of years, I suppose. And I had a big birthday last year. Wasn't sure I'd ever get there, and I certainly had been prepared to feel and look a lot older and, a lot more aches and pains and those sorts of things. But I've also reflected a little bit on what I've lost in terms of connections over the years and figured out, I suppose, over the last 5 or so years, some of the things that work for me to keep some of those connections and also to regain some of those connections. Now, this is not a sad or a happy story. It's actually, I think, a pretty good one, though it took a little while for me to I suppose, get the lesson in it myself. And what that reflection did show me quite starkly, in fact, is how easy it is to lose those connections, how easily they can drift, how old connections can be refound, and I guess some new ones made along the way. Now, for me, in the last 10 years or so, without noticing it happening incrementally, without being in my face, I lost touch with a lot of people who mattered to me. And as I've said before, while that is part of getting older and the network's shrinking and all of those sorts of things, what I want to do today is talk about what I did about it and hopefully get some feedback and comments from you about things that work from you and things that might work in the future. Now, for me, this didn't happen from one big thing. I got remarried. We moved interstate. We ended up moving overseas for the past couple of years, and each one at the time made perfect sense. But looking back, there was a cost to each of those in terms of connections, and I probably didn't see that until a lot later. Some of those people I lost touch with are musos that I used to jam with and gig with and make music together with, and that was a really fantastic, creative and learning experience for me, and I hope for them. But it's not a small thing to lose, and for a while I just assumed, or even accepted, I suppose, that that's what happens. You move, life moves, and people drift away. And it's normal, I suppose, isn't it? But somewhere along the way, I did notice something very important. And that was that if I didn't organise some of the catch-ups, most of the time it didn't happen. And the other thing that I understood, it's not because the other people didn't care. They did, and they still do. But that realisation was that everybody has their own life, their own priorities, and, their to-do list of things that are, putting it in the corporate speak, urgent and important, and catching up and all those sorts of things was somewhere in the list. It was important, but it wasn't necessarily the top of the list. And reaching out takes a bit of effort, and it's easy to keep putting it off if that thing, whatever it is, in the middle of the list. All these other things keep coming, like paying this and doing that and going to the doctors and, whatever it might be. So I realised I had to be the one to make it happen. Who, when, where, how, what, all that sort of stuff. And in terms of music, basis of a sort of set list so that, everyone comes up somewhat prepared. And I will be honest, I think it did annoy a couple of my more laissez-faire or laid-back, whatever you want to call it, the laid-back ones among my friends, being chased up and being organised. But I think they appreciate it now, and it's also the reason that we're still in touch. Tomorrow, in fact, I've got a Zoom booked with a few of them, and I'll pick that up in a later video. Later this month, in a couple of weeks, I've got another Zoom that I've organised with some friends from 50 years back, a couple I haven't seen in 50 years, so some of them I have kept in touch with on and off. And one of the guys in that Zoom has a catch-up, I think it's face-to-face, and he does it every second month with the same crew, and he's been doing it for nearly 40 years. That's crazy, but it's, wow, that's putting in the effort, isn't it? And he organises all of that. Now, I've also got a couple of ex-work colleagues in my Zoom calendar too, and a few people from other parts of my life. And none of those catch-ups would exist if I'd waited for someone else to set them up. And that's really the whole story here, I guess, of this video, if there is one. And to underline, the subheadline here is that they didn't, not that they didn't care. They do, and they still do. They're just busy in their own lives. And in one sense, you've got to insert yourself over the distance and the separation to put yourself up their to-do list a little bit. And it works for the most part. Now, I don't know if that's the same for you, and maybe you've got people in your life who do the organising and you're the one who shows up, or maybe it's the other way around and you're realising that maybe listening to this, that you've been waiting for people who is just as busy and distracted as everyone else, not unwilling at all, but you're not necessarily driving it. And I'd be genuinely interested to know, who is the person in your life you've lost touch with that you could reach out to this week? And equally, has it been you doing the organising in your friendships, or have you been waiting? And, what's worked for you or what hasn't worked for you? And I'd love to hear that in the comments. I'll read everyone, and I'd love to hear what you've done. Because really, I'm still figuring this bit out myself. Some of it's worked, some of it hasn't. So anyway, until the next video, take care. I'll see you then.